Hey, it was not my intention to do this from my phone, but here we are because technology. I actually have my computer sitting in front of me, and it's being a little bit useless. So, hi, everybody. I am Kara McCann. I am our website designer and copywriter over here at Create Captivate. And I am doing our little FriYAY today. Happy FriYAY, everybody. And I am here today to talk about what your website can do for you. I'm also having a really hard time not looking at my laptop camera because that's where I was intending to look this whole time, but it's going to be fine. I'm going to figure it out. I'm a marketing professional. So anyways, so I'm here today to talk about what your website can do for you. Because, obviously as a website designer, I don't just want your website to look good. I want it to be functional for you. And that should always be a goal. Even if you're setting up a website yourself, it needs to have form and function. So I'm just going to talk about a few of the top things that I find especially pertinent when you're designing a website. I will also give you fair warning that there is an 8-month-old upstairs right now. He's with his father, but he's loud. So if you hear occasional yells or it sounds like there's a baby toy, it's because there is. So there you have it. Anyways, we're just going to dive right in. I guess, it's already a few minutes in. So if anybody wants to hop on and comment, I will do my best to see the comments as they come in. They're a little bit delayed, so just give me a minute. And if I don't catch anything during this, then obviously I will come back and I will happily answer after. So the first thing that we want your website to do is we want it to attract new visitors, right? It might seem pretty straightforward, but sometimes there can be, it isn't always the focus when you're designing a website. So the main things that you want to be able to do for attracting new visitors is you want to focus on SEO. SEO is search engine optimization, and it is how your website will stay relevant when you are going on search engines. So Google or Bing or, whatever it is that you use these days, that's what's going to keep your website showing up towards the top of those search results. So SEO, writing for keywords, the way that happens within your website context is that a lot of times there are keywords that are related with your particular industry, like, create, captivate, digital marketing. Digital marketing would be a good one. Copywriting, website design, all those kinds of things are things that are ideal keywords in our industry. And, in whatever industry you're in, I'm sure that you have some that are very specific. Maybe you sell a very specific brand of product. And so you want that brand, when somebody searches that, your shop is one of the ones that they can come to, something like that. So making sure that those keywords are, especially in like the top paragraph, is ideal on most websites of copy on multiple pages. So you don't just want to mention those keywords one time. You want to mention them a few times so that they, again, are being read by those search engines and they are saying, hey, your website is relevant as far as this term is concerned. Therefore, we're going to rank your website a little bit higher. So writing really for SEO is fabulous. Blogging, if it makes sense for your site, for your kind of industry, blogging doesn't make sense for every company, and that's fine. But if it does make sense for you, blogging is a wonderful way to stay relevant and to attract those new customers. So again, this is a great opportunity to bring in some keywords and to make it really SEO rich. And it's also refreshing your content over and over and over again. So when you post a blog, your website sees it as new content, and then search engines see it as new content. And if you're posting new content regularly, again, very good for search engines. So that's a great way to do it. And, for attracting new customers, we're not limited to search engines, right? Like, people are going to be Googling your business, yes, but they're also going to be going on social media. So you can also look at those opportunities when you're doing blogging, when you're doing updates. That's all stuff that can get shared. Those are all ways that your website can be attracting those new visitors, because you're posting content to that website and you're giving yourself content that is then shareable. Because you can share about sales and stuff, but we don't always want to be pushy. Yes, you want to do those promotions, but if you're also sharing valuable content, then it's going to make people come to your site, check things out, see what's interesting there, and then you can work on the next important function of a website, which is conversions. So your website should not just be bringing customers there and then they just sit there and go, what's next? If your customer is landing on your website and they have no idea what the next step is, then your website isn't doing its job. So we've attracted them with SEO, with keywords, with social media posts. We brought them in based on the content that we've been loading onto your website. So now we need to convert them. So conversions, like I said, we don't just want new eyes. You want new customers. You want long-term customers is really the dream, so that you're not having to go fishing every time that you need to make another sale. But it's also, we don't all sell. Everybody out there who has a website, you're not just in it for sales. Maybe you need a new subscriber to your blog. Maybe there's a newsletter that you're pushing out. Maybe you are a community engagement type of industry and you want people coming and volunteering. Whatever a long-term customer looks like for you, we're not just talking about sales. Those are still conversions. It's still somebody who is learning about your company and then coming to your website and deciding to be more involved in whatever way makes sense for your business. So, conversions, you want to navigate people through, and we've talked about this a little bit on some other FriYAYs, this concept of taking people through like a customer value journey. So when they get to your website, you've captivated their interest somehow. They found you on Google, they've seen you on social media, wherever they've seen you, and now they've landed on your website. Your website's job is to say, hi, welcome. This is who we are. This is what we would like for you to do next. And maybe the customer comes with an idea of what they want to do. Maybe they go, oh, well, I saw one of their products advertised and I know I want to come look for that specific product. So you need to make all of that information that they might possibly have seen extremely easy to find. But you're also going to have another funnel of people who are coming to your site that just kind of stumble across it in some way, who aren't going to be looking for something as specific. So if they're looking for something specific, they need to be able to find it, and you don't know what they're going to be looking for. So you need to make sure that they can find pretty much everything very easily. And then you're going to have the other funnel who has no idea what they're really looking for, and they are looking for you to tell them what they should be looking for and what they should be expecting. So your website should do all of that for you. If somebody's picking up the phone and saying, hey, I'm trying to kind of figure out what you guys do, red flag, red flag. And typically people won't even do that. They'll just leave your website and they'll go somewhere else. So your website should be converting those clients by explaining what you do clearly, easy to navigate, beautifully laid out, descriptive copy where pertinent, not too much copy because people don't want to read for 10 hours when they come to a website. You've got like 3 seconds to really capture their interest. And if they're interested, maybe you get another 10 seconds before they make another decision. So your website should be doing all that legwork for you. If it is laid out correctly, if you have, beautiful photographs on there or product images or, even service images, like if you are a masseuse or a hairstylist, you should have pictures of you performing those services so people can really see what they're getting and they can understand that there is a value to continuing on in their navigation of your website. Again, you haven't had to do anything. This is just somebody landing on your website and taking this little journey towards making that commitment. So then, like all of this really is making your job easier, right? If you have a website and you're still taking just as many phone calls as you were before you put the website up, then your website isn't doing its job. It should make your day-to-day, I don't want to say easier because you still have a business to run or, whatever. So, or a blog to write, whatever your industry is. So it's going to make your customer conversion job easier, at least. Maybe it's going to make your sales more, it's going to increase your sales, or it's going to make your sales job easier. But in general, your website should make your job easier in those ways. So if your goal was to create an e-commerce website where you're now selling products, and maybe customers always used to call and say, hi, we were wondering about pricing for this, or scheduling for such and such service, they should be able to go to your website and find all of that information. Maybe you're working in a small business. Maybe you only have a team of 3 or 4 people and you can't field 100 phone calls a day. Your website can do that for you on its own. At least it should be doing that for you on its own. So we want to attract new visitors. We want to convert them when they get there, and you want your job to be easier, right? So these are all things that your website should be doing. And one of the most important aspects, and I talk about this every time I talk about websites because it's so important, is that one of the best ways to really make sure a lot of this is happening outside of, we're going to have your website structure, right? So you're going to have your navigation, your hierarchy. So like what falls under what, your menu should be very, very clearly spelled out. And I would recommend that if you're doing your own website, or even if somebody's designing it for you, that you're getting multiple sets of eyes on that website to see if it makes sense for people who aren't familiar with it. Like, I'm sure most of us have written papers before, for different school assignments back in our day. Maybe you're still in school, but we write papers sometimes and it makes sense in our head because we've been staring at the information for so long that we're like, yeah, this makes sense. And then somebody else reads it and goes, I'm sorry, how did you get from here to here? We don't want our websites doing that. So your website needs to be very, very clearly laid out to anybody, whether they've seen your website 400 times or whether they're seeing it for the first time. So get multiple sets of eyes on it. Maybe even ask people like, hey, go on the website and see if you can find the blog about this, or see if you can find this t-shirt, and see how long it takes them and see if it's frustrating for them. You want to make sure that all of these things are really laid out so that it is very, very user-friendly, because if somebody gets stuck, if somebody gets confused, they will leave. And that completely defeats the purpose. They might not come to your brick and mortar store. They might not give you a call. They might not shoot you an email. They're just going to leave. So it's this whole hierarchy and structure. And then the other most important thing is the branding of your website. So and again, we talked about this with customer value, we've talked about this with branding before, but in the world of what your website can do for you, there is so much value in consistency and in delivering on expectations. So whether you have advertisements, or maybe you have like t-shirts that people have seen, or even just your business card, wherever people have seen, maybe you only have a logo and you've only posted it on like your Facebook page so far. You aren't really using it in a lot of other ways. Your website needs to be a very, very, very strong representation of your brand. Because when people come to your site, they are going to be looking for that brand, or they're going to be unfamiliar with your brand. And this is your first and maybe your only opportunity to show them who your brand is. So your website should just be screaming who you are. It shouldn't be like, oh, I kind of get their vibe, but I'm not super sure about it. No, they need to get to your website and completely understand exactly who your company is, what you're setting out to do. Are you trying to, are you like a political blogger? Are you a food blogger? Are you there because you're making food, or are you blogging about like restaurants that you've been to? Are you a sales company of some kind? Are you trying to sell some services? Are you trying to sell some goods? Are you trying to just create a page where people are coming and then you want them to come into your shop? Your website needs to scream who you are and what you do. So that's colors, fonts, style, tone, brand voice is a huge thing. If you are advertising yourself as like a fun kind of quirky company and they come to your website and they see very bland and boring and dry, there's going to be an internal disconnect, and that could very easily lose you a potential customer. And vice versa, if you are advertising yourself as a very like serious, polished kind of face to your company, and then they come to your website and there's like Comic Sans font and just weird colors and different sizes of text, it's very disorienting. And we're like very cerebral, like customers, whether they're thinking about it consciously or not, customers are looking for consistency. It resonates well with us. Like if you think about pretty much any big name brand that you know how their website is going to be when you go to it. You know what to expect from their logos, their marketing, their colors, their style, their tone, everything. So your website has to reflect that. And it doesn't have to be some like big wild thing. Even if your website's only like 2 or 3 pages, you have an opportunity to brand. So in a nutshell, I'm just going to kind of summarize all of that because I know it was a lot of information and I could talk about this for days, but that's not the point of 5-minute-ish FriYAYs. So, just to kind of recap everything, your website should be attracting new customers. It should be converting customers and helping them understand how they are to proceed in that customer journey and what they're supposed to do next and how they can become long-term customers, or whatever kind of customer they are. It should make your job easier, and it should scream your brand. So that's everything that your website could and should be doing for you. I'm sure there's more. And if anybody has any questions, I don't think I've seen any comments really pop up yet. I'm looking on my laptop like I'm still on it, but I'm not. I'm on my phone. I haven't seen any comments come up yet. So if you have any questions afterwards, you're always welcome to post on here. Let me know, and we will get back to you when we can. But other than that, that's everything I've got for you today. And I hope you all just have a beautiful little Friday. And weekend, for that matter, not just a Friday. Have a good weekend.